Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks, another lockdown roundup of news. In the UK, we have this headline: care homes take legal advice over whether they can force reluctant staff to have jab, as up to 120,000 refuse. 120,000 care staff refuse the jab. That's a lot of people. It says here, just 40% have said they will definitely take it, while 60% of care home staff, we must assume, have said they don't want to take the jab. And the majority of these people are aged 18 to 34 years old. And here in this article it's saying that the National Care Association are taking legal advice over whether they can force their staff to get the jab, which is echoing the story the other day of the Pimlico plumber's boss, who is rewriting his staff's contracts so that they have to get the jab or they're fired. And now we have the same here. It says here, care homes are taking legal advice over whether they can force reluctant staff to get jab after up to 120,000 refused. It says a lot that those who are working in the care homes with the most vulnerable, and 60% of them don't trust it. It continues, NHS England expect residents and staff at care homes to be vaccinated by January the 24th at the latest. Chairwoman of the National Care Association, Nadra Ahmed, said that originally up to 270,000 staff were reluctant to have the jab. She told the Sunday Times, "We are hearing that some of them are based around reasons that are religious, or that they've got conditions, or it's a fear. Very few are conspiracy theory types, but there are some within the numbers that we've been told about." You hear that there? Very few are those conspiracy theory types. Again, using the term conspiracy theory as a label for people. It sounds to me that a lot of these care home workers are too scared to say outright that they just don't want it, and are saying religion or whatever to try and get out of it. In other news, here's an interesting article by Neil Clark. Reverse psychology. Did Johnson play the left by pretending he didn't want a lockdown so it could get public support? It's not the greatest title for an article I've ever seen, but it states that Boris Johnson, at the start of all of this, claimed he wanted to go for herd immunity. And in these few weeks, he was saying this: the UK government struck a deal worth 119 million with an American advertising company, OMD Group, urging people to stay home, stay safe, a full 3 weeks before Boris Johnson ordered a lockdown. This was reported in the Telegraph a few months back, and the writer of this article is claiming that Boris Johnson was pretending when he was saying herd immunity. He says, "The dominant narrative is that Bojo, the hapless clown, and his Keystone Cops cabinet were pushed into lockdown, pushed by public opinion, pushed by the experts, pushed by the Premier League, pushed by the left, pushed by Piers Morgan, pushed by Professor Doom, Neil Ferguson, and his ludicrous modelling. But if they had already arranged a 119 million lockdown advertising campaign, which referenced emergency economic measures in its communication strategy, it would mean the decision to lock down had already been taken many weeks earlier. At the same time, the government was giving every impression that they weren't going to lock down." So his accusation here is that this was all an act, and they knew very well they were going into lockdown. That was the plan. Otherwise, why would they spend £119 million on an advertising campaign about staying at home? And all of this was being planned while Boris Johnson was going onto the television and saying that herd immunity was the way to go. The writer then states, by getting his opponents to push for a lockdown, by making them believe he opposed one, Johnson guaranteed that when a lockdown was finally announced, there'd be a much wider acceptance of it. Yes, but in my opinion, the opposition is fake as well, and they were all playing a part. It's all a big theatre show, and the two parties and their opposition is utilised to manipulate the public's opinion. In other news, here we have in the Irish Times, deaths spur Norway concern at jab safety for vulnerable and elderly. Now, I reported this a couple of days ago. Since then, the number has gone up to 29 from 44,000 jabs. It says here Norway has expressed increasing concern about the safety of the Pfizer-incorporated vaccine for elderly people with serious underlying health conditions after raising their estimate of the number who died after receiving inoculations to 29. The latest figure adds 6 to the number of known fatalities in Norway and broadens the age group thought to be affected to 75 years and up from 80 years. While it's unclear exactly when the deaths occurred, Norway has given at least one dose to about 42,000 people and focused on those considered most at risk if they contract the virus, including the elderly. Until Friday, the vaccine produced by Pfizer and BioNTech was the only one available in Norway, and all deaths, it says here, all deaths are thus linked to this vaccine, the Norwegian Medicines Agency said in a written response to Bloomberg on Saturday. Okay, so again, as with these types of reports, the details are never crystal clear, but based on what they have said. So look, if you do some mathematics based on that number, that estimate, 42,000 people have received the jab in Norway, 29 have died after the jab. And from what they are saying here in this article, the Norway officials are saying, and I quote, all deaths are thus linked to this vaccine. So then 29 deaths, 44,000 jabs. Norway has a population of over 5 million. If you take that number of 29 fatalities and set it against a population of 5 million, you're looking at an estimated 3,000 fatalities from the jabs and the total deaths of people who passed away with a positive test of the virus in Norway is at this moment standing at 517 so far. Now, this isn't factoring in the age groups, of course, so it's not, specifically correct. I don't know how much of the population of Norway is over 75, but my point is that it's a high number any way you look at it, with only 44,000 jabs going out so far. As always, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and come to hugotalks.com and subscribe to the website, because YouTube and their censorship is always getting worse. Every time I look and see other channels are disappearing. Come and subscribe to hugotalks.com so that I can keep you updated with my daily videos. Link to website in the description and in the comments pinned to the top.